The moment I stepped onto the gravel driveway, I saw her, HOA Karen, storming out of my cabin, phone glued to her ear, screaming, "Call the cops! Arrest him!" Her heels clicked like a warning, and in that instant, I froze. My eyes darted inside the cabin and caught the faint outline of strangers rifling through my things, laughing like they owned the place. I hadn't expected anyone here yet. I had planned to surprise my family after an early return from work, but she had already turned my home into her personal party zone. "Get out! You're on private property!" I shouted, keeping my hands visible, trying to stay calm while adrenaline surged. Her gaze didn't falter. Instead, she waved a stack of papers at me, a fake HOA notice claiming I was in violation of some emergency guest limit rule. I could hear the faint clatter of glasses inside. Her so-called guests, oblivious to the chaos. I kept my voice steady. "This is my cabin. You're trespassing. Leave, or I call the real cops." Her face twisted with rage, like I had personally insulted her entire existence. "You can't tell me what to do. I enforce the rules here," she shrieked. I noticed something that made my blood run cold. Her phone wasn't to her ear anymore. She was recording me, probably planning to twist this moment into some viral complaint against me. My hand instinctively brushed the pocket where my hidden body cam clipped to my belt. Years of military training had taught me to stay alert, even in situations that seemed hopeless. I stepped closer, trying to maintain calm, but the tension was electric. Then a surprising sight, my neighbor, who had been out jogging, stopped dead, pointing at Karen. "Wait, aren't those the people who robbed the cabin last month?" Her voice cracked, the accusation hitting like a bomb. I couldn't believe it at first, but the realization hit me. The guests weren't invited at all. Karen had brought strangers to my home to humiliate me, using her fake HOA authority to hide their trespassing. Before I could process it, Karen slammed the cabin door in my face and screamed, "I'm calling the cops, you're crazy." I stepped back, heart racing, already formulating a plan. She didn't know I'd already documented everything. The moment she crossed my property line, the proof was being recorded. She thought she could intimidate me, but she had just triggered a chain of events she couldn't control. And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. The viral line of the moment hit me. "You can call the cops, Karen, but I own the land you're standing on." I didn't wait for her next move. As soon as Karen stormed toward her car, phone glued to her ear again, I slipped inside the cabin. The scene was chaos, cups overturned, clothes tossed, a stranger leaning against my countertop like he owned the place. I flicked on my hidden camera lights, capturing everything. My hands clenched into fists as my mind raced. I could have called the police right then, but I needed her exposed completely. I needed her to feel the same shock and humiliation she had tried to inflict on me. From the kitchen doorway, I heard her shouting outside, "He's threatening me. Someone send the police." I smirked quietly. Let her call the cops. The footage I was collecting would tell the real story. But then a twist I hadn't expected. One of her guests turned toward the window and locked eyes with me. His face went pale, and he bolted for the back door, clearly panicking. That's when I realized Karen had no idea who these people really were. They weren't her friends. They were small-time thieves she'd invited in blindly, using me as bait for some power play. I grabbed my tablet and started backing up the footage, each clip showing Karen's fake authority and reckless behavior. Then, from outside, she shrieked again, this time at my neighbor who had returned, shaking his head. "He's insane. He's armed. Call the cops now." But my neighbor wasn't intimidated. He had seen her chaos, and his expression told me everything. She had gone too far this time. And then came the moment that sent a chill down my spine. The first real siren in the distance. Karen's eyes widened. Her confidence faltered. She glanced at her phone, muttering, "They'll side with me. They have to." But I knew differently. The local sheriff had dealt with her antics before. She had crossed a line she couldn't erase. I whispered under my breath, more to myself than anyone else, "This is where your fake power ends, Karen." And as I waited for the sirens to draw closer, I felt a surge of calm certainty. I wasn't just defending my property. I was about to turn the tables, exposing her for the entitled, reckless HOA tyrant she really was. The viral line of the moment came naturally, sharp and cold. "You invited strangers into my home. Now the law is about to show up for the real guest." By the time the sheriff's cruiser pulled up, Karen was pacing frantically, waving her phone like a lifeline. She shouted at the officers, "He's threatening me. He's dangerous." But the moment the deputies stepped inside the cabin, their eyes locked on the mess, the overturned cups, the strangers cowering in the corner, and then on Karen herself. You could see their skepticism immediately, the way she carried herself. yelling like a queen in someone else's castle, didn't add up. I stayed calm, my tablet in hand, playing the footage silently for the sheriff. Each clip showed her orchestrating the intrusion, inviting strangers to my property, and pretending she had authority. The deputies exchanged glances, nodding, their suspicion growing. Karen's mouth opened, trying to argue, but the evidence spoke louder than any shouting. One officer finally said, "Ma'am, do you have any proof that this man threatened you?" Her face twitched. There was none, just her lies and entitlement on display. Then came the twist that made her truly panic. One of the strangers she had invited outed her in front of everyone. "She told us we could come in. We didn't know it wasn't allowed. She's the one who brought us here." The words hit her like a hammer. Karen staggered, trying to cover her mouth, but the truth was unstoppable. The deputies began taking statements, her story unraveling with every sentence. I stepped forward, voice steady, showing the proof of ownership and prior warnings she had ignored. "This is my land. She crossed the line, and these people were trespassing because of her." The sheriff nodded, already seeing the clear violation of property rights. Karen's eyes darted around, realizing her fake power had evaporated completely. And for the first time she looked vulnerable, small, exposed. The viral line of the moment came naturally, cutting through the tension. "You can scream, you can lie, but the law doesn't bend for entitlement." The sense of control shifted entirely. I knew the rest was about to unfold, and every twist from here on would hit even harder. Karen's face turned pale as the deputies escorted the strangers out, muttering angrily under her breath. She tried one last desperate move, grabbing her phone, filming me and shouting, "You'll pay for this. Everyone will know I was right." But I stayed calm, letting her unravel. Every second she spent trying to manipulate the scene only dug her deeper. Then came the final twist I hadn't fully planned, but it landed perfectly. One of the deputies, flipping through the HOA records, looked up with a smirk. "Funny, your so-called notice isn't even filed with the county. You're not legally authorized to enforce any rules here." Karen froze, her fake authority exposed completely. Her mouth opened, shut, and opened again, but no words came out. Every neighbor who had gathered outside was watching now, whispers spreading like wildfire. I stepped forward, voice firm but calm, showing my property deeds, photos of prior visits, and the full body cam footage. "This isn't about you or your HOA fantasies. This is my home, and this is the proof of what really happened." The deputies nodded, and Karen's panic grew more obvious with every nod. She was no longer in control. She was the one being judged. As she was finally escorted away, her heels clicking against the gravel, I looked at my cabin, at the neighbors who had silently supported me, and at the sheriff who gave me a nod of respect. Relief washed over me, but so did a surge of pride. My secret advantage, training, preparation, and the truth had turned the entire situation around. I had defended my home, exposed a corrupt HOA tyrant, and ensured my family would never have to fear her again. The closing line echoed perfectly, leaving the crowd and viewers alike stunned. "You tried to own my cabin, but justice doesn't live in entitlement, it lives in truth."